Hey, what is up, everybody? Tyson Dela Cruz here from the Real Estate Experts Podcast. Today, we actually have an amazing show for you today. We have a short sale negotiator out of Hawaii and Las Vegas, Jaclyn Williams. I'm super excited for the show. Let's roll into the intro.
Welcome to Real Estate Experts. Join us to democratize the secrets to real estate for everyone, everywhere. Thank you for being here. Let's see what our experts have to say today.
Hey, what's up, Jackie? Thank you so much for hopping on, specifically on the short notice. I'm really excited to highlight you and who you are and what you do in the real estate space. Are you open to sharing a quick synopsis on how you got to where you're at and how you got involved in the real estate and what you're currently doing today?
Thank you so much, Tyson. The pleasure is all mine. How I got into real estate? Well, I went to school to become a teacher, and I taught in Hawaii for about 2.5 years. And the real estate process began when we could not afford a home here in Hawaii. So we would vacation to Vegas all the time. My mom has lived there for decades, and I went to high school and for a year, stayed with her, went to high school for a year, and it's always a destination place of ours. So we, with housing prices in Las Vegas being a fraction of those in Hawaii, we decided to move to Vegas and purchase our first home. So that is what took me to Vegas. And what got me that whole process of looking at property, looking at the new homes. This was back in 04, 05. So it was booming with new construction and a whole 360 around the whole valley. So just that whole process kind of made me fall in love with real estate. And that's when I got licensed when we moved there. So I got out of teaching and got into real estate as soon as we moved there in 2005. And I've been licensed and doing real estate ever since.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. What inspired you to actually get into real estate? I know you had mentioned, not being able to, kind of qualify for the first home, but what inspired you, and then what also kept you involved in it?
Well, I think it was that whole ownership process. And, when you're a buyer, you get so excited, you're looking for a new home and researching the areas and what type of home you wanted, all the builders in Las Vegas at that time. So I kind of really took to that. Once we moved into our home and moved to Vegas, because it actually sat vacant for almost a year until we were ready to move up there. When we got there and I got licensed and everything and got into real estate, I became a listing specialist with Help You Sell. So all I did was work with sellers primarily. And I think that's kind of where I've always specialized in sellers, being on the seller side, much more so than being on the buyer side of a transaction. But doing sales, my heart, kind of flew out of it per se, really quickly, because it was just, I don't know, I wasn't being fulfilled. And that was in 05 going into 06, just selling property, 07. Then everything, as you know, in 08 kind of just hit bottom. And that's when I got with Remax, the Corey Geib team, with Corey Geib and Michael Vestudo, David Dilks. I don't know if, the very well-known agents in the Valley. And we just did a ton of REOs. And that, I think, and very transactional. And that's probably why I turned into a short sale negotiator, is I love the procedure of real estate. I love the process of real estate, from going from point A to point B and kind of going over hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. That's what I love. So with the REOs, it was very procedural, working with asset managers, bankers, servicers, high volume. So it was constant, and then I got my love back again. Dealing with distressed properties is probably where I am the happiest. Once I got out of, I got pregnant and I had my first son, and I took a year off. And after that, this was in 2011, but we had years of REO inventory. So it was constant. It was still busy, but it kind of transitioned from an REO over or foreclosed properties into short sales. I'm like, hey, instead of all these foreclosures, like, how can we stop that? Who can we help before that happens? So that's when I got with Brandy White Elk with Innovative Real Estate Strategies. I started working with her and the team in 2012, and I've been with them ever since. And she has kind of been, we all know Brandy as the short sale guru, and she just kind of taught me everything I know. At that point in time, we had 3 short sale negotiators. And that's just how the volume was. And it was really just kind of getting into, again, like I said, just stopping. So, like, how can we help these people before they're foreclosed on? Like, how can we make the process better? How can we make it easier? How can we make it less stressful? Because as you know, everyone was suffering. Everyone was underwater.
Yeah, I love that. Individuals who aren't familiar with what happened in 2009, obviously, the market, the housing market collapsed. And then prior to that, housing prices were at an all-time high. They were giving a lot of ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. A lot of people were financing assets that they necessarily probably couldn't finance. They were doing stated income loans. And all of that came to a head in 2009. And then also, like, REOs are, bank foreclosures. Fannie Freddie's typically, acquired those assets and then redid flooring and sold those to other brokerages to get them listed. And then you're saying that after that kind of happened, that's when you got into the short sale process, and probably through navigating through the short sale process, that's when you kind of rediscovered your love for distressed and foreclosed properties.
Yes.
When you say that, like, what inspires you most about working with a homeowner that is upside down, where their mortgage is higher than the actual value? What inspires you about working with a homeowner in that situation, in a short sale scenario?
Well, as you know, with the mortgage crisis, all of the people were just over leveraged. Way over leveraged. There was no room for any error, no room for any kind of decline in the market. So to handle the huge decline that we experienced back then, it ended up affecting not only investors, or not only people who had multiple properties, or people who were over leveraged, or people who were involved in any kind of mortgage fraud or anything like that. It really ended up impacting your normal people, your everyday, people, families. And it just got into, along with that mortgage crisis and everything that was going on with the economy back then, is just anything that affected a family or a person in normal life: a death, a loss of a job, reduction of income, a severe medical illness, anything. Like I say, when I say there was no room for error, there was no room for error. So if anything happened in somebody's life, they could no longer pay their mortgage. Okay, so you think, all right, well then sell a home, downsize, go rent something for cheaper, whatever it be. But that was the ability to do that didn't exist because of the market conditions back then, which led us into short sales, which it's just settling when you're underwater, when you owe more on your mortgage than your home is worth.
Yeah, I think, especially like when I got started in the real estate, the brokerage that I was with, they were predominantly an REO brokerage. They had said, hey, you got to stay away from short sales, stay away from short sales, stay away from foreclosures, bankruptcies, mechanics liens, anything like that. But what I found in my journey through real estate is those short sales, those foreclosures, those bankruptcies are the most fulfilling transactions, and then B, the most fruitful in all aspects, not just financially, but like in all aspects.
That
So, go ahead.
From that transition over from being with REOs, there's the connection, the emotional connection, or it really didn't exist at that time, because by the time we got the properties, they were vacant, they were vacated, they were already became REOs. The foreclosure process was already completed most of the time. So we didn't have that front end interaction a lot. Whereas with short sales, we're dealing directly with the homeowners. The homeowners still own their homes. Most of the time they're still in the home. And so that's when they come to us like, hey, we just experienced a huge hardship. We can no longer afford this home, but we can't sell it either. We can't, we owe more than the home is worth. What do we do? Help us. And that's kind of where my love has been for 11 years now, doing short sales, is that I get to deal directly with the homeowners. I get to hear all the stories. It's kind of bittersweet in a sense where, yes, they're losing their home, but you're getting them out from under all this weight. They've already experienced the hardship and they're just suffocating. So to be that person, to be able to help them get out from under that, it's so inspiring and motivating, and that's where my heart is. And that's why I remember everyone's like, why do you do short sales? What do you love about it? They take forever, or there's such a hassle. But they really aren't. I'm still in that. There's still a procedure to follow. It's still a process. Like any real estate transaction, there's a process. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe there's a couple hurdles more, but ultimately you're following the same procedure. And at the end, you're really, truly helping somebody.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, it's not just a transactional type of piece, right? It's more of an emotional piece also, because we've worked together for quite some time, and you've navigated through a lot of short sales, a lot of different scenarios with me, more messy than not. But each time like that happens, like this person is upside down and they feel like they're going to lose this place and they're not able to even get anything, and maybe there's an opportunity to negotiate relocation assistance, or pay off all the remaining debt, plus, hey, maybe we can do a cash for keys or whatever it is. But there's an opportunity for the homeowner to kind of get out of this particular transaction on top, versus like diving their head more in the sand.
Exactly. Sometimes it's not only a mortgage. It's not only a mortgage that's weighing them down. It's if you've experienced a financial hardship, it's not only your mortgage that's suffering. It's everything. All of your other debt, your HOA dues, any utilities, taxes, anything and everything. Which results in liens on the property. If you have a first mortgage, sometimes you have a second mortgage. So going through the short sale process definitely can help eradicate all of the liens on a property, and have a homeowner walk away, like you said too, with relocation assistance even. It's as a first choice prior to, or a better choice prior to foreclosure, to do a short sale. Yes, the benefits are definitely there.
I love that. So any agent or person, wholesaler, flipper, whatever it is, that's not privy to short sales, or they may be afraid of it. Should they be afraid of short sales? Is that process like, I know it's time consuming, but like, should they steer away from short sales, or, should they put that in their utility belt?
Definitely not steer away from short sales, but we all in real estate, there's so many niches in real estate. We have ones who love to do property management, ones who love to only work with investors and home flipping, um, seller specialists versus buyer specialists. I mean, a lot of people kind of find their little niche when they get into real estate. Um, so if short sales are, like I say, are not for everyone, but no, you and I have closed how many? I mean, with working with Brandy and Innovative, we're in hundreds, well over 500 short sales that we've closed together successfully. You know, it's just really, and once you kind of get into it, like I said, it's very procedural. It's a process. It's just like any other real estate transaction, maybe with a couple additional tasks, but it's just like any other real estate transaction.
Yeah, I also feel there's an additional component there that's a little bit more heightened, and I feel that that's the emotional aspect of it, navigating with a homeowner. Specifically, if they've already said, "Hey, I don't want this property," or "This is going into foreclosure." I think it's our responsibility, and also the short sale negotiator, to put them at ease at the process. So, for a seller who isn't familiar with the short sale process, how important is it to lay out all the expectations until the end of the transaction?
Definitely. So what's entailed with a short sale transaction, first and foremost, is making sure that you definitely are underwater. That the market will not bear an offer that will pay off your mortgage, all liens attached to the property, all closing costs. You still have title and escrow fees, commissions, all of those things to factor in the costs of doing a short sale. And that, sorry, Tice, is it echoing? Just all of a sudden.
No, you're good. Oh, you're good. You're good on my end.
Okay, sorry. Let me get back to that. Okay, so first, making sure that you are underwater, and then second, making sure that you have some kind of a hardship. If you've got millions in the bank, very unlikely that a lender is going to grant you a short sale. You have to have some kind of hardship to be able to prove. Like I said earlier, either a medical illness, a death in the family, death of a spouse, a reduction of income, a relocation that's mandatory or that you need to do for, say, like a job relocation, and you can't sell the home, but you need to move to another state or out of country. You have to show some type of hardship. Then once you establish a hardship, then it's really going to just be preparing for the short sale. So preparing the home for market, just getting in touch with a real estate agent to list the property, notifying the lender that you are going to be doing a short sale, in which a real estate agent can do all of that for you. Determine market value for the property, go ahead and put the property up on market, and then start submitting a packet to the lender. So just, as a realtor, they're going to be your authorized third party. They're going to be the person that's going to guide you through everything. So what we do when we get a short sale with Innovative is we submit everything, first get authorized so that we can communicate. The bank communicates directly with us. The homeowner is not getting called daily. The homeowner doesn't need to deal with anything. We kind of take the baton and run with it. We will put the property on market, get an offer, submit that offer to the bank. Now, short sales have really have changed rather over the years since we started doing them, over a decade ago. But it's because they were in such high volume before, and banks were just getting over. They had entire short sale departments to just handle short sales. Everything got reviewed. everything required a mortgage assistance packet, everything required 2 years of tax returns, 30 days of proof of income, 2 months of bank statements. Those were your standard documents for a homeowner to submit along with the application on saying, hey, I can no longer hold on to the property anymore. I want to liquidate it. Sometimes homeowners, a modification will work for them. If it's, if they're not so heavy into a financial hardship or it's more of a temporary financial hardship, banks can also help with doing a modification. But what I found in doing short sales these many years is that modifications sometimes were just a tiny patch. It's just help for a little bit. But ultimately, homeowners really more times than none found themselves back in, hey, I still can't afford the mortgage. I've got to let this home go. So once we submit all of that, then the bank or the servicer will end up ordering a valuation on the property. And that valuation will be done either a full-blown appraisal or a BPO, broker price opinion, or both sometimes. And once those values come in and they establish a value for the property, they hold that up against the offer that we obtained by putting the property on market. And that's when they plug in their numbers and do their equation. And really a lot of it depends on who the investor is on that note. Is it a Fannie? Is it Freddie? Is it VA? Is it FHA? Is it a private private note holder and private investor? Because they all have their own guidelines. So once everything's all compared and matched up, if we've got a counter back, just to make the numbers work, it needs to make sense for a bank to short sale. If it doesn't make sense, they're not going to do it. They're just going to proceed with foreclosure. But of course, in all circumstances on both sides, to all parties, it's beneficial to do a short sale over a foreclosure. Foreclosures are very pricey. You know how homes are left. So it's just always a win-win all around for everybody to do a short sale, as well as your deficiency is forgiven for most of the time. So that deficiency balance is waived. So once they take a short sale, say you're still $100,000 difference, that deficiency balance is waived. The bank puts it in the short sale approval, and that homeowner is released of that liability forever.
That's great. Because with the foreclosure, it's normally, I'm not a.
It could go either way. It just depends, judicial, non-judicial, and kind of just a lot of caveats in there on whether it can or cannot. Federal regulations and all of that stuff too. That came about as short sales kind of became more commonplace.
Yeah. So thank you. That was an abundance of information because, you had said something that's like a really powerful point is, the banks, the cost of running a foreclosure is significantly higher and actually foreclosing on the asset than a short sale, so in some scenarios, that's a negotiation tactic that, we've utilized to say, hey, you know what, it's going to cost you more than to foreclose on this thing. You got to post the blue things on the garage, you got to get an attorney involved. Now we got to go to the court steps. You already know this because you're a bank, are you open to navigating through the short sale process, And then at that point, I think it's just really coming to terms on what they're willing to take because, they all have a bottom line too, secondary mortgage market, all this other stuff. People who don't know, some agents don't know, like Fannie, Freddie, or, is it a VA? Is it a conventional? I think those components are important first to indicate what that mortgage is and then be able to navigate forward from there. Real quick, random question, what happens to a second position note holder when you're running a short sale?
The first mortgage negotiates with the second mortgage and pays them out. Because in a foreclosure, the second mortgage is a subordinate lien, so it's subordinate to the first. So if the first is already getting a short, second's getting nothing. So to a second mortgage, it is beneficial for them to at least get something through a short sale. And usually, it's around, it just depends. It depends on what the second mortgage loan amount is. Typically anywhere from 8% to 10%, or depending on who the first mortgage investor or is, if it's a Fannie or Freddie, it's standard, they've got $6,000 to handle all subordinate liens. So the second mortgage is just a flat, hey, we'll give you $6,000 and settle. So it just really depends on case by case too.
Wow. Wow, that's good information to know. Now, let's say there's an agent and he watches this and now they're all gung ho to, they're actively going to look for niching down and finding a short sale. Obviously, we know that the borrower's authorization is key, but what other components would an agent need to know in regards of like their time commitment to get this done, and how often do they need to touch the bank? And it's a new process for them. So how would they be able to navigate through that process?
It's upon getting that third party authorization, definitely first make contact with the lender. Get a payoff, let them know, hey, we're going to be processing a short sale. What do you need? Because it's like very case by case, investor specific, sometimes servicer specific. Every servicer has their own packet if they don't use the standard ones, or some even require their own specific third party authorization form. So really it's just gathering that information directly from the mortgage servicer on what's going to be needed. Hey, we're going to do a short sale. What's everything that I need to collect? Where do I start? And vendors are so well versed by now. They've got all their procedures, they've got all their forms, everything is already in line to kind of really streamline a short sale.
So the process itself of the short sale has significantly become more streamlined as
Yes.
the years have gone on. I love that.
Definitely.
I love
Yes. And then to kind of end off on where, once the numbers match, if the numbers match and there's no counter needed, which usually there is a counter because the bank tries to get as close to their valuation as possible. So if a buyer is willing to come up more or all the way, great for the bank. So once the offer is accepted, the numbers match, then an approval letter is produced, and you typically have anywhere from 30 to 60 days to honor that approval letter and close out that escrow.
I love that. Now, if somebody, do you do any negotiations, short sale negotiations outside of like do you do any short sale negotiations for other people? Because I know you and I do them, but do you do them for any other people?
I would love to do short sales for any other agents. It's a great partnership as we do with you, Tyson. To just, because I'm a licensed broker salesperson and I hang my license with Innovative Real Estate Strategies. It's kind of more of a referral. So if they do have a short sale and it's something that they don't want to tackle on their own, then we will definitely take over the listing and do the short sale, process the short sale for them. And we can keep them as involved or as uninvolved as they want to be.
Yeah, and I would advise anybody that's interested to, that has a short sale or that has a potential short sale or foreclosure or whatever it is that they're looking to short, to send them over to you, and then they'll be able to actually, you specifically will be able to negotiate, all the terms on that and handle all the things. And like you had mentioned, the agent can be as involved or not involved to the process, but our fiduciary duty as agents or realtors or whatever it is, as business owners, it's our responsibility to do best for the customer, for the consumer and client.
Tyson, what happened to you? Where are you? Tyson, are you there?
Hold on.
Ah.
I am. Yeah.
Like, what happened to you?
Yeah, hold on. My camera just shut out. But yeah, let me see if I can get this back on. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you fine. Yeah, I hear you
Okay,
fine.
perfect.
I don't see you.
Yeah. So anybody that's interested in getting involved in the short sale process, uh, send it over to you directly, and
Got you. You're back.
okay, cool. You can handle the short sale process for them. It's not scary, and at the end, like I was saying before I got cut off, is like it's a business person's responsibility, fiduciary duty, to do what's best for the client or the consumer. And if an individual doesn't feel proficient in running a short sale, like send them over to you, and don't be scared of those transactions, because like at the end, like we don't like I don't want somebody to lose their house. Like there's many different ways and avenues to go around like losing your house to foreclosure. you
Right.
know
As well, too, when you mentioned earlier on, other agents kind of getting into short sales, if they should stray away from them or be scared from them, not for the majority of the short sales, no. But, you and I have had some tricky short sales. When it gets, what do we do with the IRS lien on title? What do we do with the water filtration system? What do we do with the medical lien? So it does
yeah
get out of the ordinary, and it's just with our company and the years and years of experience that we all have in short sales. We've kind of handled. I don't think there is anything that we've come across that we haven't handled. It's like things that are like, what? I don't think a prelim shocks me anymore. There were times when I did a prelim and be like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this?
yeah
But we've really seen every kind of like child support judgments. I mean, we've dealt with all of that. That comes along sometimes in short sales. So it goes beyond the home. It goes beyond the home, and you've got to deal with everything under that homeowner that is attached to that property. So when they do get a little more difficult, that's maybe it is better, or it's in the client's best interest to refer that over to us, because like I said, we've handled it all.
yeah and I would, I'm really big on coaching and mentorship, and leading or following people who've already like trailblazed the way. Like granted, there are some processes that I can handle and like we can handle, but I would much rather outsource a lot of the stuff to you, because you're way more proficient at it. And collectively we can work through title stuff together, because that's the objective. So yeah, I would say anybody who's looking or has a short sale, like please send it over to Jackie. She can handle it all, and I would say just have her lead the way, steamroll the way, and be as involved in it as you can, and pick up information along the way. Do 2 or 3 transactions with her, and you hear things like, some agents don't know like how to actually read a title report, or why is there an IRS lien, or whatever it is. But have you lead the way, and then they can pick up and become more knowledgeable and proficient when they present that to the homeowner.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on short sales and the abundance of knowledge that you have. We could probably go on for hours in regards of title stuff and foreclosures and different stuff.
And set-asides and
yeah, set-asides, probate, reverse mortgage, all the things. But can you share and let everybody know where they can find you on Facebook, and then also your email, if you're open to sharing that, if anybody has any questions regarding short sales?
Sure. On Facebook, it's JKW Real Estate. And for email, it's Jaclyn, and my name is spelled like I'm named after Jaclyn Smith, Charlie's Angels. My parents were a huge fan of Charlie's Angels, so it's spelled just like Jaclyn Smith, the simple way, JACLYN at IRESvegas.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jackie. I really, really appreciate it. I hope each and every single one of you guys retained got some gems from this. This girl is an absolute wizard when it comes to negotiation and how to read title. So if you have any questions, please give her a ring. We're going to roll out into the intro. Thank you so much, Jackie. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have tremendous gratitude for our guests and you listening now for joining our mission of democratizing real estate education around the world. If you want to learn more from our experts, our mission, and get involved, then please visit realestateexperts.org to get started. Who knows, you might even be a guest on a future episode.